She couldn't even hit the paper target. At least, that's what everyone thought. Did she close her eyes when she pulled the trigger? A young private's laughter cut through the muffled echoes of the indoor range, setting off a chain reaction of snickers. The whole group of trainees chuckled, some shaking their heads like they'd just watched the most predictable thing in the world. The woman they were laughing at didn't say a word. She just stood there, calm, collecting her rifle with deliberate care, her head slightly bowed. But the range safety officer, he wasn't laughing. He stepped forward, his boots crunching on the spent brass scattered across the concrete floor, and checked the trajectory line. His eyes narrowed. And then, in a low voice that somehow froze the whole room, he said, "Check the back wall." The laughter died instantly. You could feel the air shift. Every eye in the room turned, scanning past the untouched paper target toward the heavy concrete wall behind it. Her name was Haley Brooks, 32 years old. Dark brown hair pulled back into a no-nonsense ponytail, sharp blue eyes that noticed everything, but gave away nothing. Average height, average build, wearing standard-issue fatigues that looked a half size too big. She'd just been accepted into the Federal Military Training Center's Logistics Support Program. Support, not combat, not special operations, not even regular infantry. Support, the kind of posting where your whole career is, behind the scenes managing supplies, keeping records straight, maintaining equipment, staying far away from anything that involves exchanging fire with an enemy. And Haley seemed fine with that. Perfectly fine. She arrived on time every morning, not early enough to look overeager, not late enough to stand out. She did every task assigned to her with quiet, efficient precision. Equipment maintenance, weapons cleaning, inventory checks, paperwork. She didn't complain. She didn't ask questions. She never volunteered for extra duties. She was the background hum in the facility, always there, never noticed. The combat trainees? They were the stars. The ones with sharp uniforms, confident strides, and the kind of voices that carried. The future warriors who would lead missions, face danger, and bring honor to their units. Haley cleaned their rifles after they finished training. She stacked their ammo cans. She kept their gear in order. And in their eyes, she was invisible. Just another cog in the machine. But every so often, there were hints. The way she handled a firearm when she was cleaning it like it was more than a tool, more like an extension of herself. The speed and fluidity with which she could strip and reassemble an M4 faster than most of the actual combat trainees. Or the way her eyes followed drills during live-fire exercises, tracking movement, reading formations, noting tactical choices, while other logistics staff scrolled through their phones. And sometimes, she'd pause mid-task, her head tilting ever so slightly, as if she'd heard something no one else could. A far-off sound, a faint change in rhythm, no one knew. They just thought she was zoning out. Nobody ever really looked at Haley Brooks, and that's how she liked it. She'd mastered the art of being forgettable, blending into the scenery so completely that people stopped thinking about her at all. For 7 years, that invisibility had worked like a charm, until the day everything changed. The announcement came at morning formation. Every single person on base combat and support alike would participate in a basic marksmanship evaluation, no exceptions. Drill instructor Martinez made the call himself, his voice cracking across the parade ground like a rifle shot. Some of you think support personnel don't need combat skills. Today we're going to prove exactly why that mindset is dangerous. He turned, letting his eyes sweep over the rows of trainees, stopping on the logistics section just long enough for the smirk to show. We're going to demonstrate the difference between warriors. His arm gestured broadly toward the combat trainees and support. A ripple of laughter rolled through the combat ranks. They knew this wasn't about training. This was theater. A staged exercise to remind everyone who sat where on the food chain. 2 hours later, they were at the range. The combat trainees had already put on their show-tight shot groupings, clean reloads, perfect safety handling. Now they lounged around the equipment tables, sharing inside jokes, their confidence filling the air. Then came the turn for logistics. Brooks. Martinez's voice was sharp, almost gleeful. Haley stepped forward without a word. No excuses, no stalling. She simply walked to the firing line, took up the issued rifle, and began her safety checks, her movements smooth, almost mechanical. That's when the peanut gallery started. $20 says she drops it, someone muttered. I'll take that bet, another replied. Bet she doesn't even know which end the bullets come out of. Someone else snorted. Should have given her a Nerf gun. Haley didn't so much as glance their way. Martinez's voice carried over the lane. You've got 5 rounds, 50 meters. Try not to embarrass yourself too badly." The first shot rang out. The spotting scopes confirmed no hit. The paper target was pristine. Laughter erupted immediately. "She missed the whole thing. Was she even looking?" "Explain." The second shot, same result. The laughter got louder, sharper. Third shot, fourth, fifth. The target remained untouched. By now, even a few logistics staff were shaking their heads. This was worse than they'd expected. Haley set the rifle down. Her face was as unreadable as ever. No embarrassment, no irritation, just that same quiet mask. Martinez turned to the group with a smug grin. "Well, I think we've learned something important today about the difference between warriors and," he gestured vaguely toward Haley, "support." The combat trainees had already started packing it in, convinced the demonstration was over. And then Williams moved. The range safety officer was older, quieter, the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command attention. He'd been in real fights, earned real scars, and 3 Purple Hearts. He walked right past the target frame, past the safety barriers, all the way to the back wall, and there, embedded in solid concrete at chest height, were 5 bullet holes. 5 holes so close together they could have been covered with a quarter. Williams didn't say a word at first. He just stared, following the impossible line back through the exact spot a human chest would have been, straight through the paper's microscopic gap where it didn't touch the frame. When he finally turned, his voice was low but carried across the range. "Check the back wall." The mood shifted instantly. The chatter died, and all eyes slowly turned to Haley Brooks. The moment Williams spoke, the sound inside the range seemed to vanish. No one moved, no one even breathed. Martinez frowned, walking over to see for himself, his earlier smirk fading with every step. When he reached the far wall, the look on his face was almost comical shock wrapped in confusion. He turned slowly toward Haley, then back at the 5 perfect bullet holes. They weren't scattered, they weren't random. They were a surgical cluster, carved into concrete 50 meters away, aligned with precision so exact it looked unreal. Williams's voice broke the silence. 5 rounds through a gap no wider than 2 millimeters, hitting the exact same point. The younger trainees stared at the wall like it might suddenly explain itself. Johnson, the private who'd been the loudest heckler, finally muttered, "That's not possible. No one shoots like that." Martinez didn't even turn toward him. His gaze stayed fixed on Haley. She still stood where she'd been the whole time, calm, motionless, her rifle resting neatly on the bench. Then Williams stepped back, crossing the floor toward her. His boots made slow, deliberate sounds on the concrete, the kind that filled the space between heartbeats. "You've shot like that before," he said. It wasn't a question. Haley tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Maybe." The tension thickened. You could feel the combat trainee's energy shift from mocking amusement to uneasy curiosity. That's when the door at the far end opened, and Staff Sergeant Miller walked in. Miller was different. He wasn't part of the day-to-day training staff. His uniform carried no standard insignia. His face was calm, but there was a weight behind his eyes, someone who had been places most of these recruits couldn't even imagine. He took one look at the bullet holes in the wall and stopped in his tracks. When his eyes found Haley, something flickered there, recognition. "Clear the range," he said quietly. Martinez straightened, bristling. "Staff Sergeant, this is my training exercise." Miller didn't raise his voice, but it cut through the air like a blade. "What just happened here is above your pay grade. Clear the range. Now." It took 15 minutes to herd everyone out. 15 minutes of hushed whispers and darting glances, of whispered theories about lucky shots, rigged rifles, or divine intervention. When the last trainee was gone, it was just Miller, Haley, and the echo of their footsteps in the empty space. He walked toward her slowly, his eyes flicking once more to the wall before settling on her. "It's been a long time," Kraken whisper. The name landed heavy, like a locked door swinging open in a dark room. Haley's mouth curved into the faintest smile, not warm, not friendly, but something colder. "Hello, Marcus." 7 years of silence seemed to fold themselves into those 3 words. Miller's jaw tightened. 7 years we've been looking for you. You were declared KIA in Syria. Black Ops mission went bad. Whole team gone. No survivors. No intel. No trace of Kraken whisper. "There were survivors," Haley said softly. "Just not the ones you wanted." "What happened?" Her voice was steady, but there was steel in it now. "I learned the difference between serving your country and serving the people who give the orders. Some missions aren't about protecting lives. They're about protecting careers, covering mistakes, cleaning up the kind of truths that can't be allowed to exist. Miller studied her, his expression unreadable. "So, you disappeared." "I became someone else," she replied. "Someone no one would notice. Someone who could clean rifles and stock ammunition and never be asked to pull a trigger unless it mattered." Her eyes flicked toward the 5 bullet holes in the wall. And today, it mattered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of the range ventilation system hummed overhead. Then Haley pulled back her left sleeve. Ink glinted faintly under the fluorescent lights. A kraken wrapped around a rifle barrel, its tentacles curling into coordinates. Coordinates to a facility that officially didn't exist. "Tell whoever sent you," she said. "I'm exactly where I want to be. And if they have a problem, they can come talk to me themselves." She picked up her rifle bag and walked toward the door. Miller's gaze followed her, then shifted back to the wall. His voice was barely a whisper. She still got it. 3 weeks after that day at the range, everything had changed. And yet, officially, nothing had. The training logs showed nothing unusual, just another round of marksmanship evaluations with standard results. No mention of impossible shots, no whispers of a dead legend walking the halls of the Federal Military Training Center. But unofficially, the atmosphere on base was different. The combat trainees who'd been front-row hecklers now moved differently around Haley Brooks. Private Johnson, once the loudest in his mockery, watched her like someone might watch unexploded ordnance. Corporal Evans had stopped making cracks about non-combat personnel entirely. And word spread, as it always does in the military, quietly, through trusted channels. The story changed in the retelling. Some swore she put all 5 rounds through the same bullet hole. Others claimed the gap in the target was the width of a needle, but the core remained the same. The quiet woman from logistics was something far more dangerous than she looked. Haley herself didn't change. She still arrived exactly on time, still cleaned weapons, checked inventories, processed equipment requests, still kept her head down and her voice low. But now, eyes followed her. Respectful eyes, cautious eyes. Williams, the range safety officer, started calling on her to help with equipment inspections. Only, these inspections had an odd way of turning into advanced marksmanship discussions. Young instructors who used to walk past her without a glance now lingered, asking questions about rifle balance, ballistics, wind compensation. And quietly, under the radar, certain elite trainees began finding folded slips of paper under their dorm doors. Notes with precise advice, how to adjust grip to eliminate microflinches, how to shift foot stance for steadier recoil control, how to lead moving targets at extended range. No signature, but everyone knew. Martinez, the drill instructor who'd set up her humiliation, was quietly reassigned to an administrative desk job processing training reports instead of giving them. Williams took over full control of the firing range. A small wooden plaque appeared on his office wall. "Check what's behind your target." No one asked where it came from. Then came the rumors about the after-hours program. A handful of special operations candidates started disappearing from their bunks after lights out, slipping quietly into an old maintenance building at the far edge of the base. No roll calls, no attendance sheets, no official record they'd been there at all. Those candidates came back sharper, more accurate, more aware. Their shot groupings tightened, their reaction times improved, and their understanding of precision weapons jumped ahead of the standard curriculum by months. No one said the name Kraken Whisper, but everyone thought it. Miller came back twice in those 3 weeks. He never approached Haley. He just watched, took notes, made calls to numbers that didn't exist on paper. His classified report would read, "Asset remains in place, capabilities intact, status, monitor, non-interference recommended." Haley went on as if nothing had happened. By day, invisible logistics support. By night, something else entirely. A mentor, a silent teacher, a ghost who sharpened the edge of the next generation without ever stepping into the spotlight. And through it all, the legend stayed officially dead. But legends have a way of living in shadows. Haley knew it. Miller knew it. And now, so did a handful of young soldiers who'd seen something they'd never forget. Her own words might have sounded something like this: "I never needed applause. I never needed anyone to know my name or understand what I was capable of. Real mastery doesn't need an audience. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't require validation from people who don't understand the price it takes to earn it. For 7 years, I chose silence over recognition, invisibility over glory, competence over ceremony. Because once you've been in a place where missing your shot means people die, once you've made impossible shots that will never appear in a report, you stop caring about proving yourself to anyone who doesn't matter. I didn't miss that paper target. I hit exactly what I was aiming for. I wasn't shooting at paper. I was shooting at assumptions, at arrogance, at the dangerous habit of underestimating people because of what you think you see. Those 5 bullets were lessons. Silence isn't incompetence. The most capable people are often the ones who talk the least about it. The quietest person in the room is often the one you should watch the closest. True skill works to its own standards, not for applause. Underestimation is a gift. It gives you the element of surprise. The most important shot isn't always the one that hits the target everyone's watching. Now, every time they see a logistics clerk or a supply tech, they'll remember the day 5 bullet holes appeared in a concrete wall tight enough to hide under a coin. They'll remember that mastery doesn't always look like what they expect. And maybe they'll think twice before laughing at the quiet ones. Because sometimes, the quiet ones are aiming at something you can't see.